if we continue to do them with integrity, if we continue to do them with empathy. In other words, in appraising your house, you'd want somebody to do it right. We're really not going to have a problem from a standpoint with credibility.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with you once again. And once again, we have a dear USPAP instructor with Mr. Tim Andersen, who I will introduce in just a moment. But first, I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by three great companies, one of them being Alamode. Alamode, of course, is the way that I do my appraisal reports. It's the software that I use that helps me save time and energy and money. It can you as well. It's alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. DataMaster, of course, saving me 45 minutes per report, give or take. 30 to 60 minutes, they say, and folks, trust me, I've timed it. They're accurate. If you want to save time and energy with your reports in punching a button rather than paying somebody else to put information into your report, check it out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. And finally, we're sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, providing all kinds of benefits to their members, not just E&O, but some other training materials out there as well, among other things. If you're not with OREP, you need to be, folks. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's orep.org. All right, folks, I want to welcome back to the program my good friend. Nobody has been on the Appraiser Coach podcast as a guest more often than Mr. Tim Andersen. We welcome him back again today. Tim, thank you for taking time.
Dustin, hi, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I really am. You know, this is a really weird world that we live in right now with quote-unquote pandemic, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of strangeness going on out there, but I'm great. I'm fine. It makes life interesting. Every morning you wake up and find out what else is going to happen.
Yeah, it kind of shakes us out of our lethargy, doesn't it?
It does that. It does that. And, you know, I'm a kind of an outside-the-box guy anyway, so rather than feel fear and trepidation and wondering what's going to happen, I just kind of enjoy the ride at this point and just kind of have hope that everything will work itself out.
What else can we do, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What else can we do? Well, Tim, I'll tell you what, one thing we can do, and the reason I had you on the program today, of course, we've got this series that we've done over the years called Dear USPAP Instructor, and this is the opportunity for individuals to basically bring their questions to the table. And Tim, I know you get them and I get them and we share them with each other. If I get them, I certainly share them with you because I'm not a USPAP expert. I don't even teach USPAP, even in my sleep. But I, of course, reach out to you, and you're very quick to answer individual questions. I know the listeners are welcome to email you and to email me on these questions, and we don't wait until we record these to answer the questions, but often we'll take those questions and, you know, anonymously, or maybe we'll just use a first name or we'll use the whole name if they give us permission to do so. We share those with the listeners because I learned a long time ago as a teacher, Tim, that if one student has a question, most likely there's other people in the room that have questions as well. They're just too timid to ask, and so we like to share those here on this program and get answers to common questions. But today, I want to shake things up a little bit. Tim, is that okay?
Shake away, Dustin.
Okay.
Shake away.
Rather than get a specific question from a specific listener, I know, Tim, you've had individuals reach out to you over this last week, and I have had multiple people reach out to me as well. And what I want to talk about is the USPAP compliant part of the changes that we are seeing right now. So we're recording this just a few days actually before we're going to air it. And a lot of times we record these things weeks in advance. In this case, it's only a couple days in advance. So those of you who are listening to this live, meaning on Sunday, you've downloaded this and you're listening to it, just know that it was just recorded just a few days before. So most of this stuff will be very pertinent. If anything, Tim, there's a lot of changes, not just in the world, but in the appraisal side of things as well. And so it's interesting to see how these things kind of roll out, right? But in this case, this is pretty accurate, pretty up-to-date, pretty current information. And Tim, one of the things that has happened recently is the big three, I'm going to call them, Fannie, you could include Freddie with that, so conventional, FHA, and VA. So Fannie, FHA, VA, the big three all came out with guidelines for appraisers specifically and appraisals with regard to COVID-19. Many of us are at stay-at-home states. I know Idaho is a stay-at-home state. There are others that are stay-at-home states. There are others that are even more strict than that. Some of them are even trying, at least municipalities are trying to enforce these things by law enforcement. A lot of appraisers are a little bit rightfully so concerned about doing interior inspections, not just for their own health and safety, but the health and safety of their family, the health and safety of the point of contact, the individual, either the realtor or the homeowner or the potential buyer that might meet them at the inspection. They're concerned about human-to-human contact. And as a consequence, Fannie, FHA, and VA all came out with protocol this past week indicating that in some circumstances, we can go to exterior and or desktop appraisals. Now, with that, Tim, most of them, including both FHA and Fannie, have indicated that they still want these appraisals done on a 1004 form, not a 1004P, but a 1004 form. That's brought up multiple questions that I know that you have fielded and I want to field today with regard to USPAP. Tim, what are some counsel, what is some advice that you would give us if we're using a 1004 that obviously still has the old certification in there that says the signer of this report did an interior, but we're also modifying that by adding additional language, additional certifications that said, no, this is a desktop, or no, this is an exterior. What advice would you give appraisers right now with regard to that concerning USPAP?
Well, they've obviously got to follow the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and VA and HUD and USDA regulations, et cetera. Now, I don't think a state board is going to get all excited, quite frankly, if somebody turns in a 1004 form that says, yep, I walked inside the property and I put boots in the living room and I took pictures and blah, 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 where the appraiser modifies that by saying, despite what it says someplace else in this report, I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because I didn't want to get sick and I didn't want to make anybody else sick either. So as a result, I drove up to the front of the house. I stared at it from the front. I took a few pictures. I've spoken with brokers. I've spoken with the property's occupants. I've spoken with the county assessor's office. I've done all the things I'm supposed to do, but I didn't go inside the house. State board's not going to have any trouble with that as long as the report doesn't mislead anybody. Now, you say, well, what could possibly be misleading about saying, hey, I parked in front of the house and took pictures? Well, what is misleading is, no, you're not going to park in front of the house. You hire your 15-year-old kid to go park in front of the house and take pictures, and you sit at your desk all day and do appraisals. Okay, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to disclose it. So if that's what you're going to do, if you're not going to go out to the house, if you're going to hire your 15-year-old kid to park in front of the house and take a couple of pictures and then drive to the next one, okay. But then you have to disclose that properly. Okay. Otherwise, it's misleading. And that's what the state's looking for. The state really doesn't care about your number. That's an opinion. What the state cares about is, did you develop your value opinion credibly? And did you report it non-misleadingly? If the state decides that, yes, indeed, you successfully took those two steps, doesn't care what the value is, and it's going to send you a nice little letter that says, you didn't do anything wrong, don't do it again, thank you, go thy way and sin no more.
You mentioned a word there. In fact, you mentioned it a couple of times, and the word is misleading. And I think one of the concerns that I have heard from appraisers who right now, this is all new. We're doing desktop appraisals on a 1004. We're doing exterior appraisals on a 1004. And I know some appraisers are saying, well, why don't they just move to a 2055? That makes more sense, right? Well, VA did. But FHA chose not to, Fannie chose not to, and I think that the reasons they gave, or at least the reasons that I deciphered, was they are still collecting data, UAD data, and they can't do that with those other forms. They're only set up in their portals to upload through a 1004. But going back to this word misleading, Tim, and here's the concern, I think. In the 1004, it very specifically says that we did the interior inspection, and yet somewhere else, we're now putting in a disclaimer that says, no, I didn't do an interior inspection. So one place you say you did, another place you say you didn't. That seems pretty misleading to me.
In and of itself, Dustin, it would be misleading. However, it's not misleading because the state board is going to look at the date on the contract and go, oh, okay, that was during the pandemic. All right.
Okay.
So, no, that's not being misleading. And then Dustin, take the legal route and go, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, no, I didn't inspect it because there's a pandemic going on, and I'm not going to get sick, and I'm not going to make anybody sick. So, not to diminish the issue at all, but I think appraisers have got bigger fish to fry than the form they use.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that the date on the contract makes all the difference in the world right now. Even if we're completing a retrospective appraisal, even though the effective date might be 2 years ago, if the appraisal date is during this pandemic, I think that they're going to give some leeway, right?
Yeah, and state clearly in the report, hello, there was a pandemic going on when I was given this assignment. I don't think that Fannie Mae is obviously quite at home with it because Fannie Mae is the one who said to do it.
Right.
The individual client, the individual lender is probably closed down. They're working out of their house. So they know what's going on. And there's a real good probability, the homeowner doesn't want you anywhere near the inside of the house.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's no reason to fight that battle. Don't go in the house.
Yeah. Great comment. Great answer, my friend. We're talking with Tim Andersen. He, of course, is the appraiser's advocate. You can find him at theappraisersadvocate.com. He helps appraisers who find themselves needing help with USPAP issues, with state board issues, with appraisal issues. A very smart guy, and I appreciate his time. I want to pause here and remind you we are sponsored by 3 great companies. One of them, Tim works for as an instructor. And Tim, you recently are in the process or maybe finished another recording for OREP Insurance. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's on using disclaimers and disclosures to protect yourself and protect your business. And we're just getting it. We're in what you would call at this point post-production.
Okay.
And it'll be a couple of months before it's out. But it's going to be. I do part of it from a USPAP standpoint, and then David and Isaac do a great deal of it from a standpoint of the underwriting and the insurance end of things. So it's really going to be quite interesting, and you're going to get 3 different perspectives on the issue, not merely just one, not merely the appraisal perspective, but the business perspective as well.
Love it. Yeah, this is great information, and this is for OREP Insurance members. In fact, I took 14 hours of continuing education through OREP last year and paid not 1 penny extra because I am an OREP member. That's the kind of benefits that you'll find with OREP Insurance, not just coverage on your E&O, but also great benefits otherwise. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. Of course, we're sponsored by Alamode. Alamode is the software that I've been using for over 2 decades to do my appraisal write-ups, and they are still the best value out there, folks. If you're not using Alamode, check them out. Go to alamode.com, or you can call them at 800-ALAMODE and ask them the question. Say, hey, listen, I am with XYZ software. Tell me what you can do that XYZ can't do for me, and they will answer those great questions for you. I would definitely pick up the phone and call them. You might be talking to somebody who is working from home, but that's okay. They will still be knowledgeable, and they will still help you with your answers. That's alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Finally, we're sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster helping you to do more with less, especially right now where so much is changing. It's great to be able to punch a button and have fields filled out for you. You don't have to pay someone else to do them. You don't have to do them yourself. I know many of you are busy. DataMaster will help you save time. DataMaster will help you speed up the process while improving the quality at the same time. Go to datamasterusa.com. Find out if they are in your area, if they work with your board of realtors, and if they do, what are you waiting for? datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. All right, folks, welcome back. We're talking with Mr. Tim Andersen of the Appraiser's Advocate. Is it best to go to your website, Tim, if people need help?
Yeah, contact me, Tim at theappraisersadvocate.com. That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
Perfect.
And it's because I'm not actively appraising anymore. It is a great way to invest my time, and I love talking with my fellow appraisers.
And Tim is very, very knowledgeable on that. He will help you through any problems that you might have, and he will also help to insulate you against problems. One of the great services that he provided me a couple of years ago, and I know he's done for our All-Star team and our Dream Team, is that he will often take your templates, if you will, and go through them and help them to be more USPAP compliant. Right, Tim?
Yep, that's what I do.
Great service. Yeah, and he always does it with a twinkle in his eye and a smile on his face.
And no check shall go uncashed either.
Exactly. Yes, and he does so with payment as well. All right, Tim. Thank you for taking an opportunity. Something you're not paid for is to come on this program and to share your expertise, and I appreciate that. Right now, we're in a really weird world, not just in the world itself and with regard to what's going on with the pandemic, but how it is affecting appraisers. How is it's affecting the mortgage side of things and the non-lender side of things and appraisals in general, and how do we handle certain things with scope of work? We talked before the sponsorship about these changes with the forms that a lot of times we're doing desktops and exteriors now on a 1004 form. How does that affect us with regard to the state board with USPAP compliance? I want to talk about credibility. Okay, one of the things that you mentioned before the break, Tim, is that we need to make sure that our data is credible. All right, let's take a hypothetical that could be a very real life situation. 6 weeks ago, if I were doing an appraisal at 123 Any Street, most likely that appraisal would be ordered on a 1004. I would call and I would set up the appointment with the borrower. I would do a walkthrough. I would take 30, 45 minutes walking through, taking pictures, taking notes, sketching out the property, measuring, doing all the bells and whistles. Okay, with the pandemic, because of the health concerns, both to myself, my family, and of course the point of contact, the realtor or the homeowner, as the case may be, less and less inspections are being done in person. Meaning, we're now still doing them on the 1004, which means we've got to fill out the floor coverings. We've got to fill out the wall coverings. We've got to fill out the bathroom wainscot, the very important field of the bathroom wainscot. But yet we're not physically there to inspect. We're not physically there to see, right? So Tim, talk to me about, from a USPAP perspective, the concerns that we might have and some T's that need to be crossed and some I's that need to be dotted.
Dustin, credibility refers to the appraisal, not the appraisal report. For example, you can leave out the damn bathroom wainscot, and that's not going to affect the credibility of your analyses.
Really, that's one of my favorite
I don't even
parts.
think that's going to. I don't even think that's going to affect the reliability of your appraisal report. To leave that out is certainly not misleading. So when we're talking about credibility, Dustin, we're talking about the quality of the individual appraiser's analysis, or really analyses, of the property and all of its many components. Now, we depend on MLS. Okay, the MLS is still there. Brokers are still putting houses in it. Houses for sale. It's still putting up sales sales results. The county clerks are still recording deeds. There may be a backlog they're going to have to fight in the future, but they're still recording deeds.
Mm-hmm.
We can still pick up the phone and call the broker and the homeowner. Chances are now the homeowner's home, when before that wasn't really probable. Now the brokers may even return our calls because they're probably sitting at home too.
Yeah.
So when we talk about credibility, we're talking about, again, the quality of the appraiser's analyses of the component parts of the subject, specifically the physical, legal, and economic aspects of the subject. If we continue to do proper due diligence, if we continue to do our jobs as we have been trained to do them, within this set of limitations, without question, but if we continue to do them as we have been trained to do them, if we continue to do them with integrity, if we continue to do them with empathy, in other words, in appraising your house, you'd want somebody to do it right, we're really not going to have a problem from a standpoint with credibility. Now, there may be an issue with misleading, and we've talked about that. And because we're not going in the house, because we're using forms that for purpose B when they really were designed for purpose A, yes, there is a potential there to mislead. But you don't mislead by explaining not only what you did, but why you did it. And if appraisers will get that second part, the why part, I don't think we're going to have a problem with misleading either. So credibility really should not suffer, because staring at the bathroom wainscot does not make for a credible appraisal. Staring at the bathroom wainscot makes for boredom. So what you're going to do is you're not going to stare at the bathroom wainscot. You're going to stare at the comparable sales, and you're going to make sure your comparable sales are indeed comparable. And the definition of a comparable sale is one that has the same highest and best use as the subject. So if you can determine that at the same level of credibility you did before, there isn't going to be a problem with credibility.
You know, an interesting thing that came up, and one of my All-Star team members reached out to me over the weekend and said something kind of just as an aside. It wasn't the purpose for the phone call, but during the phone call, he said, you know, it's interesting because we're now in a situation where we are treating the subject very similarly to the way that we treat the actual comps. Meaning, most of the time, an appraiser never walks through the comps, the sales. He simply trusts the information on the MLS and the county data and the interview with the realtor. And now we're doing that for subject as well. Maybe it's more comparable. Who knows?
It very possibly may be. I know you'll get hate mail, Dustin, for me saying this, and I apologize for that.
Well,
but I've always thought that walking through the subject and bothering somebody's life was a waste of time. Okay, I stared at the bathroom wainscot. What is that going to do to make my report better or worse?
Yeah.
So now there are places that don't have very good data. I'll buy that. And there are times when a property is so beaten up or is so absolutely custom-made gorgeous that really, to understand it, yes, you got to walk through it. But I know my wife and I live in a townhouse development, and I've owned a bunch of the units in here over time. I've been in a bunch of units. And if I had to do an appraisal in here, and again, I don't appraise on a daily basis anymore, I wouldn't go look at it. I know what it looks like. In fact, I watched these things being built. So as a result, I know what's in every unit.
Right.
And, walking through the unit, I'm going to see the carpet. I'm going to see the couch. And I'll probably see the dog and even play with the dog. But, okay, how does that affect the credibility of my appraisal? It makes for, petting a dog and enjoying a brief break is certainly wonderful. And chatting with the homeowner is usually quite interesting and maybe even eye-opening. But I'm not even going to open the cabinets because I know what's in there. Dishes and pots and pans. Hello. And if the water doesn't work, it's because it's been turned off. All I got to do is turn it back on. So that's really not an issue. And I just think that schlepping through every house that you appraise is a waste of the appraiser's time. I also think that having to drive and look at every house is a complete waste of the appraiser's time. Look at the MLS picture. That's the one that was taken right before it sold. So I don't have snow down here, but let's suppose you do a December appraisal. of a property that went under contract in September and was listed in June. So you're going to go you're going to take a picture of a snow-covered house. Well, what does that tell anybody? The picture that was taken in June for the listing is probably a whole lot better picture. Now, has somebody photoshopped out the water tower behind it? Possibly. I'll buy that. But you can get that off Google Earth. That's no big deal.
So that brings me to another question, because I've had several All-Star team members reach out to me this last week and ask the what ifs. And I'll just summarize them. I'm just going to come up with some hypotheticals here. These are not exact questions, but similarly. So I know one individual, at least one individual, maybe more than that, reached out and said, well, I'm concerned if I reach out to the homeowner and the homeowner walks through the property, say using Zoom video or Facetime or just videos it and uploads it to Dropbox or what have you, and walks through each of the rooms, I'm afraid that he won't turn the camera up to view the water stain on the ceiling where the roof leaked, for example. How on the hook are we, Tim, from a USPAP perspective, with regard to our relying on someone else's video who may have some bias built in here?
Hello. That's why we have extraordinary assumptions. Hello. So, hello, dear reader. My value opinion of $87 zillion is subject to the accuracy of the photos I was shown of the property. And if something was left out, I'm not responsible for that. So that you can write your way around that, Dustin. Yeah. And is the homeowner a little bit biased? Obviously. Hello. And so we overcome that with the tool of the extraordinary assumption. Now, when this is all over, Fannie Mae is going to say, okay, nope, back boots in the living room. Let's go. Okay, then we go back to boots in the living room. But we all have to make some accommodations. And Fannie is going to understand that in many cases, we're improvising. We're making it up as we go along. Okay. And let's face it, 3 weeks ago, you never even would have considered calling up the homeowner and saying, hello, take a video of your house and download it to me, would you please? But yet that's exactly what we're doing now. And Dustin, if it's done right, if it's done credibly, if it's done with the proper disclosures and disclaimers, it's not going to be a problem. If it's not, then yeah, there may be a problem.
Okay, final question, and this goes to this word that you keep bringing up, credible, and being able to rely on this information. What happens when it's just not feasible to get accurate enough information? I'll give you a hypothetical to complete an appraisal that you feel like you can rely on. Let me give you an example. So let's say that you pull up the MLS, and the MLS, it's a recent MLS, maybe it's sold in the last year, and it says that the home is 2,500 square feet. And you call up the homeowner, and you have them do a video walk around, and you verify with them, and you say, well, looks like you bought this house a year ago, and it was 2,500 square feet. And he says, oh, no. Whoa, what? What did you say? Oh, yeah, it says right here it was 2,500 square feet. No, my home is 3,500 square feet. That's a typo. Oh, okay. Well, so you go check with the county and it says 2,500 square feet, and you call the realtor. No, I measured it personally. It's 2,500 square feet. So the homeowner's telling you it's 3,500. Everything else says it's 2,500. What do you do, Tim?
Well, the homeowner can also tell you Jimmy Hoffa's buried in the basement. What the hell difference does it make what the homeowner says? Okay. You verify data. You called up the realtor. Realtor said, no, 2,500 square feet. You pulled the property card. No, 2,500 square feet. Okay. There are two very, or at least one, impeachable source. So you mentioned the homeowner says the house has got 3,500 square feet and that Jimmy Hoffa is buried in the basement. Since I couldn't prove that, since I can't support that, I'm going to go with the authoritative source, which is the county measurements. Okay. And if that's wrong, hello, extraordinary assumption, I get a do-over. Okay. So if I could parrot back your answer, be very clear where the information came from. You might even mention that the homeowner said XYZ, but I'm choosing to go with something else. But the key here is that you're very, very transparent about where you got your information and that you're making extraordinary assumptions that the data that you chose to rely on is indeed accurate, right? Yeah, exactly. Or you mentioned earlier, appraisers who have just basically stopped appraising. Okay. If you're just not comfortable with that, then you call up the client and say, I'm just not comfortable with that. Please reassign this job. Okay. So that goes to my next question, and you answered it preemptively, but I just want to throw out this idea because I've been asked, well, what if there is no accurate information anywhere? For example, I know MLSs in some areas, rural areas, that actually don't even list the GLA, and you can't get it from the county either, believe it or not. So you're reliant wholly upon maybe a homeowner who might shrug and say, I don't know. I've never measured it. I don't know how to use a laser measure. I don't even own one. I don't know how to use my tape measure goes 25 feet. You want me to walk around the outside of my house and tell you? I have no idea. In that situation where there's just no definitive source of accurate information, Tim, I take it from your previous answer, your answer would be move on, reassign, don't go down that road. Yeah, your due diligence answers the question, should I take this job? And after doing due diligence, you go, there's no way I can come up with a number on this house that's even remotely credible. Sorry, client, I can't help you. Reassign it.
Love it. Tim Andersen, the Appraiser's Advocate. Thank you, my friend, as always, spending so much time with us, helping us to understand in these difficult times. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Dustin, sure. It's my pleasure. I'm more than happy to help. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I hope you and your family stay safe through this, and all the prosperity in the world to you, and I appreciate all your help, my friend. Thank you.
Surely, and my best to all the listeners out there, please be safe, sage, and well. Thank you.
Thank you. You can get a hold of Tim at tim@theappraisersadvocate.com. He would be more than willing to help you, whichever situation you find yourself in. He provides a great service for appraisers, and his fees are very clear on his website. He's got a lot of material as well of some templates and different things that you can utilize to help you to be more USPAP compliant. Once again, hats off to Tim. And by the way, I mentioned several times here the All-Star Team. The All-Star Team, of course, is there for you to utilize, to use, to be a part of. Right now, more than ever, the All-Star Team is growing because appraisers understand that right now we need each other. We need the community of appraisers combining together. And right now, because of the situation we find ourselves in, I am offering that for free for anyone who wants to be involved in the All-Star Team for 30 days. Absolutely no requirement, no payment necessary. Just use the coupon code COVID-19, COVID-19, when you sign up for the All-Star Team, and you get it for free for 30 days. Hope you'll join us. Thank you again, Tim, and thanks each of you for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
Put you on pause or on mute rather, and we'll get started.
Yeah, I'm married. I'm used to it.
I know you are.